And there we go. Hey guys, greetings. I hope I'm not speaking too softly because I'm trying to keep it kind of quiet because the walls here are kind of thin. Um, but greetings from the UK. I am officially here. Oh man, I could go on for 15 minutes about the travel here, but um, let's see. So let me just get a couple of things out of the way before I talk about the UK. Um, because Whew, carbonation's a little different. Anyway, because I just need to get this out. The Avengers trailer. Holy shit, you guys, the Avengers trailer. I am more excited for this movie than I ever have been for any other movie in my entire life. It was amazing. Moving on. um, I'm on my midterm break now, and hence why I'm in the UK. I'm here visiting, one of my best friends, Fuzz. If you know her, most of you probably do. Cool. If you don't, she is hilarious. She is amazing, and she's just one of my best friends. I love her to death. So I'm here visiting her because she's studying abroad this semester. She's studying in Norwich. Um, I'm at the University of East Anglia right now in Norwich. So, um, yesterday, yesterday, the going through the time zones, I feel like I went through a space-time vortex. It just anyway. Um, so I actually had a document that just had my thoughts at the time. It was just sort of like if you're on Tumblr, it's called live blogging. You just make posts about whatever you're doing at the time, like stealing an idea from a friend of mine, Jess. I might live blog my NaNoWriMo while I'm doing it. But yeah, so I just sort of did a travel life blog. Like I just sort of wrote down my thoughts as I went up to a certain point, then I stopped. But so uh the flight to Atlanta was fine. I went from Madison to Atlanta and then Atlanta to Manchester, and then I had to make my way from Manchester to Norwich. Um so the flight to Atlanta was fine. I made myself kind of sick in the airport just because I was so nervous. I was really scared. It's my first time in a foreign country by myself. So it's my first time in a foreign country besides like Mexico, but I went like 4 or 5 years ago. It's my first time over to Europe, and I went by myself. So I was really really nervous. Um, so there was this young woman. She's probably about my age, maybe a little younger actually, on at the gate for Manchester in Atlanta. She was really, really obnoxious, and it wasn't even the point where it was like annoying. It was like, oh well, I'm gonna go visit. Like there were these two couples that had obviously come over to the States together, and like for a vacation or to visit people they knew or something, and they were getting ready to go back, and she sits herself down like when she hears their accents she sits down and she just inserts herself into their conversation, and she just starts going on about herself, and she's like, oh well, my boyfriend lives in England, so I know everything about that, and I watch a lot of British comedy, so I know so much about the British culture and blah 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 blah, and like she's trying to show off to these people from the UK who are obviously incredibly tired from their trip, and they were having their own private conversation, and she just butts in. I was not eavesdropping. They were sitting right across me. I couldn't tune this girl out if I tried, because trust me, I tried. And she told one of the men that he looked like Stephen Fry, and at that point I'm sorry, I hate cultural ignorance. I am a big fan of British people. I watch a lot of British television. I am not an expert on all things England. I'm really not. Like, I like Japanese culture. I used to watch anime a lot. Now I watch it a lot in a lot, not as much as I used to. I can't think, I'm sorry. That does not make me an expert on the subject. I will never pretend to be an expert on the subject of other countries. I'm not. And I hate cultural ignorance. I hate it. Oh, I know so much just because I have a boyfriend in the UK and just because I watch British comedy. That doesn't prepare you. I mean, like, it gives you a semblance, but I mean, it's TV is TV. And her boyfriend's experience is vastly different because he lives there. It's different. There's a difference between visiting a country and living in it. You know, like if you're living in it, then you sort of get a sense of what the actual culture is like. If you're just visiting, you only get a small, tiny taste. So that was just, I'm sorry, that just annoyed the hell out of me. It was an 8-hour flight. It went on forever. I took a trazodone. You know what that is supposed to do? It's a sleep medication prescription. It's supposed to knock you out completely, like sleep meds. These are like hardcore sleep meds. I usually only take half, because half is usually enough to get me to sleep. Lately, I've had to take a whole one, just because I've been so riled up about stuff. So I took a whole one. That is supposed to knock you the fuck out for at least 8 hours. Guess what happened? I was awake the entire time. The entire flight. I wish I was exaggerating when I said I tried to sleep at least 10 times. I tried doing everything that I had on my person. Like, I tried watching Wallander. And it wasn't that it was soul-crushingly depressing, which it is. But I just could not focus on it. That didn't work. Reading, I could only do it for so long because the lights were out. And the guy next to me was trying to sleep. So, couldn't really do that. Time crawled. Playing my DS. Time crawled. Playing my PSP. Time crawled. Listening to my iPod. Time crawled. It was just a nightmare. I could just not. I was too apprehensive. So, but we finally got there. We landed in Manchester. I underwent all of these wonderful accents, like very quietly, obviously. I'm not going to stand there and make an idiot out of myself. British Customs, it took them 2 minutes. People with the UK passport, people with the US passport, I was in line for 45 minutes. I wasn't even angry. I just thought it was hilarious. Because it was just the perfect analogy between the two countries. The people in front of me in the UK custom system were so stupid. They were so dumb. Like, they just weren't paying attention. There was one woman who was trying to, like, proofread something, and then there was another woman who was just staring off into space, and another one who was talking to her husband. None of them were paying attention. The line would move up, and they would just stand there, and it wasn't, like, inching forward. It was like, there's a 10-foot gap between you and the person in front of you. I had to speak up quite a few times and tell them that the line was moving. Like, it's so stupid. Yeah, I might have to split this into 2 videos just to describe my trip and everything and how it's been so far. So, yeah, I guess this is part 1 of Danny's UK Chronicles. So, but okay. So, yeah, I feel this carries over into like present day, so a little tangent, but related to yesterday. I feel awkward every time I open my mouth. Um, and it's not even that. I'm awkward sort of moving around. Like, I'm trying to, like, I look like I don't know like what I'm doing or where I'm going. I feel like I have a huge neon sign, like, above my head that says, like, hello, I'm American. Like, just for the first time, I'm really conscious about my country and its culture and how it's very different from others. Like, while it's similar, while share similarities, it's also very different. Sorry, I have a tendency to watch myself when I record, so it looks like I'm not looking directly at the camera. I'm going to move the camera off to the side here so I can't see. There we go. Okay, now I can't see. So now I'm actually going to look at the camera. But yeah, I'm really self-conscious about my accent, and sorry, I have to keep a track on the time limit, so I have to move that over. There we go. I'm just really self-conscious about um, how I do things and how I say things. I've been fumbling around a lot. I had a couple of people ask me to repeat myself because of my accent. And like, well, I'm like, oh, like this is kind of cool. Like, I actually have an accent to these people. Like, at the same time, I am kind of embarrassed because I'm like, I wish, like I had your accent because I really like them, A, and B, like, I feel bad. Like, I'm trying to do things right, but my Americanisms are showing through. Like, I'm kind of rude. Like, I realize that. Like, I'm used to the, like, if, the best example I can actually think of was when I went to Canada. I was walking with um, my friend from Toronto, and there were two people talking in the middle of the sidewalk. So we had to go through them. We couldn't go around them because it was one of those like where it was the overhang, and then there was the wall. So there were like bars in the wall, and the people were like on the other side. So, um, and I just walked straight through them. It was because that's what you would do in the U.S. You pretty much just go straight through them. If people are having a conversation 5 feet apart from each other, that's kind of their own problem. Whereas my friend ducked a little bit, and like moved really quickly through, and she apologized. Sort of like that here. That's the best analogy I can think of. It's just something in American society where it's like, like it's sort of like this resigned rudeness. Like you're pretty much just rude just because it's like you have something to do. It's not like, you're intentionally going out of your way to be a jackass. But, like you're just going from point A to point B and you don't really pay that much attention to everything around you. I feel like I'm doing that. I'm oblivious by nature. I had waiters and waitresses ask me stuff and I did not register they were talking to me, so I seemed like I was ignoring them and I felt really bad. Um so and I it's a lot of fumbling around too, but I'll get to that later just because that comes into play later. Um the trains were messed up because it was Sunday apparently. So I had to jump on 4 different trains to get to Norwich. My journey began at 10:44 in the morning. We landed around 8. But my journey began at 10:44 in the morning and I pulled into Norwich at 4:15. I have been traveling, like yesterday, I had traveled for about 36 hours. And I was up even longer than that. I talked to a couple of people yesterday and I told them I was up for 36 hours. I was up for longer than that. I was traveling for about 36 hours straight. So, yeah. Um, let's see. I had an hour and a half to kill at the airport before the train came. I was spending it letting my stomach settle because I was hauling 3 heavy bags. I had my carry-on. I had a checked bag. I had a checked bag because I had to bring my air mattress, and so like sheets and a blanket and a towel and like my liquids and stuff. So I had my checked bag, which had all of that. My carry-on, which had all of my clothes, and my laptop bag. And so I've been carrying 3 heavy bags around trying to get to the train station as fast as possible, and my adrenaline was going, and I tend to get a little nauseous. So I was just letting myself settle. I'm nearing 15 minutes, so I'm going to stop this one and start on another one. So give me a couple of minutes and I shall return.